I've always liked making music, and at one point I kind of got discouraged and I stopped. And then when I started doing it again, I realized, if I never get another hit record again.
The tragic story of Leroy Burgess and funk band Black Ivory is filled with sadness and heartache. Once a rising star in soul music, the group faced betrayal that left deep scars.
It was difficult. It was quite difficult because we're typecast as a slow jam group. So whenever we tried to do something that was up-tempo or mid-tempo or a little dancey, they was like, oh no, don't do that.
From the sudden departure of Leroy Burgess, changing the group's signature sound and shattering their spirit.
I was unhappy and I felt stuck and stifled. They understood it to different degrees, all right? And neither of them were happy to see me go.
To the bitter royalty battles with their record label, leaving them feeling betrayed and broke.
They owe me $75,000. This is not working out very well. Your contract calls for another album right now. And unfortunately, the cost of this album is going to outweigh the royalties we were going to give you.
Add in backlash over drug-related lyrics, and just when they thought things couldn't get worse, their label collapsed, crushing their dreams overnight. Let's get into it. Black Ivory started out with a different name. They were first called the Mellow Souls. The group was made up of teenagers from Harlem, New York. This all began in the summer of 1969. The original members were Leroy Burgess, Stuart Bascombe, Russell Patterson, Lawrence Newkirk, Froilan Ramirez, and Michael Harris. They were just a group of young boys who loved music and wanted to sing. Even though they were still in school, they had big dreams of becoming famous.
Because I remember when I was a kid, my father used to listen to a radio station that played basically like Count Basie, Frank Sinatra, but that wasn't my type of music.
One day, they decided to try something bold. They called a well-known musician and producer named Patrick Adams and auditioned for him over the phone. Patrick was surprised and impressed. He decided to meet them in person. After hearing them sing live, he saw something special in them. Patrick Adams became their mentor and started working with them to improve their sound. He taught them how to sing better, perform together, and become more professional.
Right. And our music really wasn't put down as much as some of the music out today, but it was definitely different from what came before us.
Patrick thought 5 members were too many, so Michael Harris left the group. Now, there were 5 boys left, and they changed their name to Black Ivory. They started singing at private parties, local events, and even small shows in their neighborhood. At one of these shows, a talent show at Roosevelt High School in the Bronx, they won first place. This win gave them more confidence to keep going. They worked hard, kept practicing, and tried to get noticed by music companies. Patrick Adams worked behind the scenes to get them a record deal. He talked to Gene Red Jr., who owned a music label called Red Coach Records. Gene also worked with the famous band Kool and the Gang. To help Black Ivory get more attention, Gene let them open shows for Kool and the Gang at many places on the East Coast. This gave them great exposure and helped people learn who they were. In 1970, some changes happened in the group. Ramirez was replaced by Russell Patterson, and Newkirk left to go to college. Now, the group was down to 3 members: Leroy Burgess, Stuart Bascombe, and Russell Patterson. This became the final trio of Black Ivory. Patrick took them to Philadelphia to record their first songs. They went to Sigma Sound Studios and recorded Don't Turn Around and I Keep Asking You Questions. These 2 songs became their very first single. The songs were released by the Today label, and people loved them. That was the beginning of their success. Leroy Burgess was the main singer for most of their songs in the early years. He also wrote songs and worked as a disco music producer. Patrick Adams and Leroy Burgess worked together on many songs, and that helped Black Ivory become popular. Leroy Burgess leaves Black Ivory and finds a new sound. In 1977, Leroy Burgess made a big decision. He left his group. Leroy felt it was time to try something new. He wanted to grow as a musician. Music was changing, and he didn't want to stay in the same place. He said that people only wanted to hear Black Ivory do slow jams, but he was hearing new sounds that were more upbeat and fun. These new sounds were fast, funky, and made people want to dance. So, even though it was a risk, Leroy decided to leave the group and go in a new direction. It was a hard choice, but he believed it was the right one for his future. After leaving Black Ivory, Leroy began working on faster songs. He started with a song called Weekend by Freak. Then came Fire Night Dance by the Peter Jacques Band. And Hooked on Your Love by the Fantastic Aleems. These songs helped him find a new groove. He wasn't doing slow love songs anymore. He was now making music that made people move. He worked closely with two musicians, James Calloway and Sonny T. Davenport. James played bass, Sonny played drums, and Leroy played the electric piano. Together, they used their background in jazz and gospel music to create a fresh new style. This style was slower than disco but still had a strong rhythm. It had a bounce and energy that people liked. Over time, this sound became known as boogie. It was a fun, funky kind of music, and Leroy was one of the first to help shape it. Leroy didn't just sing, he also helped produce music. He worked on songs like Release Yourself by the Aleems, Over Like a Fat Rat by Fonda Rae, and Barely Breaking Even by the Universal Robot Band. These songs became hits. Even 30 years later, people still dance to them. Why do they last so long? Leroy said, it's because he always tried to make music that people could remember. He wanted to make songs that had strong melodies, ones people could hum even years later. He also added positive feelings to his music. Even if the words talked about tough times, like in Barely Breaking Even, the music still gave people hope. It made them feel good, even when life was hard. Leroy Burgess took a chance by leaving Black Ivory, but that risk helped him grow. He followed his heart and helped create a new kind of music. His songs still make people smile and dance today. In 1972, Black Ivory released their first album. It was called Don't Turn Around. This album was a big success. It stayed on the Billboard R&B albums chart for 19 weeks, which is a long time. It reached number 13 on that chart. People really liked the songs on that album. One of the songs was also called Don't Turn Around. It made it to number 38 on the R&B singles chart. Another song, You and I, did even better. It reached number 32. These songs were soft, sweet love songs, and fans loved them. Another song from the same album was I'll Find a Way, The Loneliest Man in Town. That song reached number 46 on the chart. Maybe she'll be back, maybe soon, but for once I can wait. In the same year, Black Ivory had another hit called Time is Love. This song was very popular and reached number 37. The group was doing well and getting attention from R&B fans across the country. Their soft singing style and touching lyrics made them stand out from other groups. Later on, Black Ivory had a few more songs that made it onto the charts. These included Spinning Around, What Goes Around Comes Around, and Will We Ever Come Together? Are you ever gonna love me back? These songs also had sweet, emotional sounds. But the group didn't only sing slow songs. They also tried faster songs like Big Apple Rock,
You made it time to get a feeling. Hit the disco scene to the beat.
Walking Downtown on a Saturday Night,
Downtown on a Saturday night. Let's go to the party.
and Mainline. Russell Patterson sang the lead on Mainline, which was written by Leroy Burgess after he left the group. But even though they made good music, not everything was perfect behind the scenes. They had problems with their record label, especially about money. The group worked with a company called Today Perception Records. This company helped them make and release their songs. But over time, the group started to feel unhappy with how they were being treated. Stuart Bascombe, one of the members of Black Ivory, once said that the record label kept messing with their royalty payments. Royalties are the money a singer or group gets every time their song is played on the radio, sold in stores, or used in movies or TV. It's how most singers earn their living. But Black Ivory felt they were not getting the money they were supposed to get. Stewart said the label was always doing something to change or delay the payments. The group trusted the label at first, but that trust started to fade. Over time, this money problem caused a lot of tension. The group didn't feel motivated to make new music because they weren't getting paid fairly for the work they already did. They didn't feel respected or valued. Instead of focusing on making more songs and growing their music career, they had to worry about what was happening with their money. This made them take a step back from the music scene for a while. They stopped recording as often and stayed out of the spotlight. For artists who loved music, this was a sad and frustrating time. Not being able to do what they loved because of money and unfair treatment was very hard. Besides money problems, Black Ivory also got attention for the kind of words they used in some of their songs. Two of their songs, Mainline and Don't Need No Rehab, used drug-related words to describe love and relationships. These songs weren't actually about using drugs, but they used drug terms to explain how strong and powerful love can feel. For example, in Mainline, the singer talks about love like it's a drug he needs. This was meant to show how deep and addictive love can be. But not everyone liked this idea. Some people didn't understand that the songs were using metaphors. A metaphor is when you say something is like something else to help people understand better. In this case, they used drug talk to show what love felt like. But some people thought the songs were promoting drug use, which caused controversy. People worried that young listeners might get the wrong message. They thought the group was sending a bad example, even though that was not the goal at all. Black Ivory's member, Leroy Burgess, later explained that Don't Need No Rehab was like a second part to Mainline. He said that it was about a strong kind of love, the kind that makes you feel high, like a drug. He wanted people to understand that the song was creative and emotional, not dangerous. He tried to make it clear that it was just music, not a real story about using drugs. But even with this explanation, some people still didn't like the use of drug words in love songs. But as time passed, the music world began to change. In the late 1970s and into the 1980s, new music styles like disco, funk, and later hip-hop started becoming more popular. These new sounds were different from the sweet, slow love songs Black Ivory was known for. Because of this, they slowly started to fade from the spotlight. It wasn't that their music got worse, they were still very talented. But the music people wanted to hear had changed. The radio and record companies paid more attention to the new styles. Sadly, groups like Black Ivory didn't get as much love or attention anymore. After the group stopped performing together for a while, some of the members tried to go solo. Stuart Bascombe and Russell Patterson worked on their own music careers. They hoped to continue doing what they loved, making music. But the truth is, it's hard for people to make it alone after being part of a group. When you're in a group, you share the work, the stage, and the fans. As a solo artist, you have to do everything by yourself and try to stand out in a very crowded music world. Even with their talent, their solo work didn't become very popular. It wasn't easy to get attention without the full group and the old support behind them. Leroy became very successful as a songwriter and music producer. Many people started calling him the patron saint of boogie because of how much he helped shape that style of music. He worked with many other artists and made a name for himself behind the scenes. His music became important to fans of boogie and soul, even if his face wasn't always in the spotlight. Leroy wrote and produced Big Time for Rick James, a well-known funk artist. He also helped make the hit song Over Like a Fat Rat by Fonda Rae. On that song, he not only helped with writing and production, but also played the keyboard and sang background vocals. Leroy was known for being very talented and hardworking. Many artists wanted to work with him because he brought a lot of creativity to their music. Burgess also co-wrote other songs for famous musicians. He worked on Stomp Your Feet for jazz flutist Herbie Mann and Never Used to Dance for Eddie Kendricks, who was a member of The Temptations. His talent didn't stop there. He also sang on songs by the French electronic group Cassius. These songs were Under Influence and Till We Got You and Me. These tracks were part of their album, O Rev. This shows how Leroy could work in many types of music, from soul to funk to electronic. Leroy Burgess even worked with hip-hop artists. He was one of the writers on a song called Criminology by Raekwon, a rapper from the group Wu-Tang Clan. That song was part of Raekwon's famous 1995 album, Only Built for Cuban Links, which later became a gold-certified album. That means it sold over 500,000 copies. This showed how far Leroy's influence had spread in the music world. He was not just stuck in one type of music, he worked with many different artists and styles. Patterson and Bascombe also kept working in music, though their work didn't get as much attention as Burgess's. Patterson signed a solo deal in 1988 with Culture Shock Records. He released a song called I Surrender, which he co-wrote and produced with Cleveland Wright. Later, Patterson worked with producer John Robinson and co-wrote another song, More I Get. He also released another track with Robinson called The Time Is Right. Though these songs didn't make a huge splash, they showed that Patterson still had love for music and wanted to share it with the world. Patterson didn't stop at music. In later years, he tried acting and was featured in television shows. One of his most known roles was playing an FBI agent in the last season of the TV series The Following, which starred Kevin Bacon.
Drop the weapon!
You don't want to do this.
Lord, help my poor soul.
Everything's gonna be okay.
He even appeared with Bacon on the cover of Variety magazine in 2015. This was a proud moment for Patterson, as he showed he could succeed outside of music too. In 2013, he sang on a song from the Robinson Wall Project, Vol. 1. In 2016, he brought back a classic by releasing a new version of Show Me How, a song originally by The Emotions and written by Isaac Hayes. In 2018, he worked with DJ Frankie Estevez to make a house music track called Celebrate. Then in 2019, Patterson released another single called Sign of the Times, proving he was still active in music. Stuart Bascombe also continued doing creative work after the group split. In 1976, he acted in a children's movie on TV called Turkey Treasure, where he played the lead role of Moses. A few years later, in 1983, he returned to play the same character in another children's special called To Be a Man. This show was very special and won an Emmy Award for Best Children's Programming. Bascombe even received a special Emmy plaque for his contribution, which was a big honor. Bascombe kept growing in different directions. In 2010, he helped write the song Getting Up for famous rapper Q-Tip.
We gotta getting up, today is nice.
The song was part of an album called The Renaissance, which got nominated for Best Rap Album at the Grammy Awards. This showed that Bascombe was still respected in the music world and could work with top artists. In 2011, he and his group released a Christmas song called Snow and a full album titled Continuum. He helped write and produce some of the songs on that album, showing his skills hadn't faded. Bascombe also appeared in the 2018 documentary Mr. Soul, a film about the groundbreaking TV show Soul and its host, Ellis Hazlip. The film won a Peabody Award in 2021, which is a very big award in media. Bascombe and the other people in the film were honored with this award. The film showed how soul gave a voice to black music and culture at a time when it wasn't shown much on TV. This project allowed Bascombe to look back on history and be part of something meaningful once again. After almost 30 years apart, the original members of the group Black Ivory came back together in 2011. They made a new album called Continuum. This was a big moment for the group and their fans. Even after all that time, they still had the same strong bond and talent. The album showed how much they had grown as artists. It also proved that their musical connection was still alive. They worked hard on the songs and made sure it was something their fans would love. It was like they never left. Their voices still blended beautifully, and their style remained smooth and soulful. A lot of music fans still wanted to hear Black Ivory's old songs, so 2 CDs were made that included music from their early albums. These collections helped new fans discover their music and allowed older fans to remember the good times. Leroy also released 2 special albums about his work in the 1980s. One was called Anthology, Volume 1, The Voice, and the other was Anthology, Volume 2, The Producer. These albums showed how much he had done behind the scenes, both as a singer and as a music producer. In 2007, Leroy released an album called Throwback, Harlem 7983, which had music that reminded people of the late 1970s and early 1980s. In 2010, he followed up with another one called Throwback, Vol. 2, Sugar Hill 82, 86. These were the first albums released under his own name. Then came Continuum in 2011, which was the reunion album with his group Black Ivory. This made a lot of fans very happy because they had waited many years to hear the group together again. In 2019, Black Ivory went to London to perform together at the famous Jazz Cafe. It was their first time performing together in London. The crowd loved it, and the group was given awards for their 50th anniversary. A London magazine called The Soul Survivors even wrote a 13-page article about them. This was a big honor and showed how much people still cared about their music. As of 2020, Black Ivory was still together with all of the original members. This is rare for music groups from the 1970s. Most groups have members leave or stop performing, but not Black Ivory. They stayed together and kept singing and making music for their fans. Leroy Burgess now releases music through his own record label called Burgess Entertainment Recordings. He has put out several songs in recent years. Some of these include Jesus Children of America, 2017, Barely Breaking Even, 2019, and Dance Till You Can't, 2021. His most recent song, Somewhere, came out in 2021 and will be part of his upcoming album, These Days. Even after all this time, he continues to share his gift with the world.